Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Discovery, Season 2, Episode 1, Brother. So I've said it over and over again, the first season was really rough for me, mostly because the two big storylines are the Klingons and the Mirror Universe, neither one of which interests me. So Season 2, I still had a lot of issues with Season 2, I'm not going to lie. But compared to Season 1, it is definitely a step above, and I did enjoy it a lot more. And what's interesting is you can actually see where they've tried to kind of correct things over Season 1. Like, the writers and the producers actually listen to the fans. And they're like, okay, so we're going to do this here, and we're going to do this here. And it slowly is changing. So, that being said, parts of this premiere were interesting. It definitely shows how things are going to go a different way. But there's a lot of filler. Like, this whole first episode was very drawn out for me. Like, a lot of it could have been cut down. Like, it's a little bit over an hour. And it didn't really need to be. Although some of that is the previously on. So, like, the whole opening scenes of, like, where Michael starts out with space. The final frontier. It's above us. It's below us. It's in us. It's around us. Like, we get it. Like, it's space. Like, that whole thing didn't need to be there. Just, boop, cut that out. Michael meeting Amanda and Sarek was kind of interesting. And then, of course, like, little baby Spock was pretty cute. And I've said before, like, I don't like that storyline. Like, I don't like how Michael is Spock's foster sister or adopted sister or whatever you want to call her. Like, I don't like that. But it's clear, like, Spock's going to be a very important role in this season. And even before the season came out, they had already, like, talked about it. So I already kind of have issues with that, but it's already part of the show, so I'm not going to, like, focus on that every episode. I did like where Michael and Saru are talking about siblings, and she talks about, like, oh, I have my brother Spock, and he's like, oh, I have a sister, which we've already met his sister in the short treks. So that's kind of interesting that they're already kind of including those short treks in the series. Like, not a lot, but they're actually referencing it already. I noticed the teleporter had, like, a visor going on, like a little shout out to Geordi, which was kind of cool. When we see Captain Pike and his other two officers, they're wearing the three Star Trek colors. He's wearing gold, she's wearing red, he's wearing blue. And so, like, it's now canon. And that's one of the things that I always thought was weird about Discovery. Because I get it takes place, like, 10 years before the original series. But they're wearing, like, jumpsuits, more like Enterprise, than they are, like, the bright, colorful colors. And we meet Captain Pike, played Anson Mount, I think is how you say his name. He's a good actor. I was not super familiar with him. Like, I looked up his filmography. And he'd done a ton of, like, one-shot episodes throughout the years that I had to have seen. Like, I've seen every episode of Sex and the City, and he was in one episode of that. He was in one episode of Smallville. He was in one episode of Lost. Like, I've seen all of these shows. No memory of who he is. Going into Discovery, the only thing that I knew him from was actually, playing Thunderbolt in the Inhumans TV show, which I actually liked more than most people. Actually, most people just downright hated it, so I actually thought it wasn't bad. Like, it deserved a second season. Anyway, so, and he never spoke in that one. So to see him in this and actually hear him talk, you actually get to see him shine a little bit more as an actor. So I thought that was kind of good. They make a lot of people have talked about, like, why does Discovery look so much more advanced than any other ship when it's supposed to be, like, 200 years before Next Generation, Voyager, and all that. And they do make a little bit of a reference to that, like, oh, you can tell where Starfleet puts its pennies. And to even say, like, Discovery's, like, way more advanced than anybody else. Which kind of breaks the canon, because technically the Enterprise should be, but, I mean, Discovery is a science vessel, and actually the Enterprise is like an exploratory vessel. It's neither one are war vessels, so, I don't know. They kind of wrote themselves in a corner, but that's the way they got out of it, is, oh, they definitely spent more money on you guys than anybody else. And then just Pike's response of, well, we got the new uniforms, to go one more step of, hey, look, I'm wearing, like, a bright gold t-shirt, and you're just wearing a jumpsuit. Again, like, you painted yourself in a corner, and that's the best way you're going to get out of it. So, I mean, props to actually acknowledge it, though. Let's see. This is technically this is the fourth person to play Pike. I'm just gonna say it's the third because we had the guy from the cage, we had the Kelvin Pike, and technically, like I said, in the original series in the Menagerie when he's in the wheelchair, that's a different actor, but I mean he's so covered in makeup it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I'm sorry. So this is now the third Pike that we've actually seen. Captain of the Enterprise, technically the second captain because we know Robert April was the first. So I like how they're kind of sticking with that continuity in there. The sick alien in the turbo lift, like the one thing that you can tell from this season right off the bat is the way people have conversations. Just the way they talk to each other is extremely different. Looking at the first season, and even Michael has the line, like, Captain Lorca was straight to the point, like, that's it. And that's how the first season was. And whereas Pike is like, we're going to have fun. And, like, all of the little, like, the chatter in the background stands out. Like, just the whole the sick alien in the turbo lift, which was actually in the teaser trailer. I remember first seeing it, where he, like, sneezes and everything. It's so drawn out that it's actually a little bit distracting. But then there's the other, like, little parts where, like, when they're in the pods and he's like, ha ha, and because they're, like, making fun of each other, and Pike is like, okay guys, stuff like that. Or where Saru's, like, things come out of his neck and he's like, are you surprised? Stuff like that. The one that really stood out to me was when Pike is about to crash and Michael's like, we're gonna save you because we have him, right ladies? And the two on the bridge just look at each other and they're like, yeah, we got it. Like, stuff like that, it just adds that little bit more of realism because it's that little background noise that people don't really pay attention to. I noticed it, and it really made a big difference, so I really kind of like that. We see Dr. Culber in a, like, pre-recorded video, which it was still great to see him again. Stamets puts in a transfer, which you know is not going to happen, so I even hate that they tried to do that. Them launching in the pods, the four of them, it's so overly done at this point. Like, they literally did this in the first episode of the first season, where it was just Michael, but she had to, like, dodge all the debris and stuff. And I mean, even going back a little bit further into, like, Star Trek Into Darkness, where it was Kirk and Khan going through all the debris. Like, I'm over that. Like, it's done. Just stop doing it, please. So, but they finally, like, they do their big thing where she saves Pike and everything. It's great. And it just gets more and more drawn out, where we meet Jet Reno. Terrific character, terrific actress, but, like, it's such a long, drawn out scene, like, showing, like, oh, I'm elbow deep in Tellarite brain, and, like, how she got everybody to survive. Her dry wit makes the scene. Like, it saves everything. It's so long, though. And then finally, just the big ending with Michael seeing the Red Angel, Pike trading in his jumpsuit, which I thought was a big mistake. Like, I think, knowing that Pike's going to be in the whole season, I think if Pike was in the gold through the whole season, it would be very distracting. Like, don't get me wrong. But to have him in the jumpsuit, I think just, it's a step backwards. Like he just said, we have the new uniforms. Like, look at me, I'm bright and shiny. So he goes backwards to the old uniforms to fit in with the Discovery crew. Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how you would have fixed it. Either have him be distracting or have him blend in. I would probably have had him just be in gold the whole time or something. Or some middle ground. But either way. And then finally the fortune cookie at the end was just too much, where it's like, not every cage is a prison, not every loss eternal. We get it. Pike's first episode was the cage. Why did that need to be on a fortune cookie? Like, it's too much for me. Overall, I would say this is leaps and bounds over the season 1 premiere, over just about any episode from season 1, to be honest with you. But I had a lot of issues with it, but I do think it's moving in the right direction. So for those who have seen it, what did you guys think? What are you looking forward to for season 2? And let me know. I will see you guys next time for New Eden.